Can we talk about MySpace real quick? How poppin' it was back in high school. Like, it was the fucking shit.
I wish I could chime in, but I couldn't have a MySpace.
Me neither.
You couldn't have a MySpace.
You did have a MySpace. I remember you having a MySpace.
I had a MySpace for like 3 days before MySpace ended.
Wait, but me too.
I wasn't
allowed to have it, and then one of my friends, as soon as it started dying out, one of my friends was like, let's just make one, like your mom won't know. So I made it, and me and my cousin like tried to look up layouts, and by the time I set everything up, like nobody was on it.
Oh, yep. MySpace was a popularity contest, that entire site.
I couldn't have one for the entire like fun period of it. And then at the very end, I went to one of my friend's house and he made me one. And I put up a picture of me and like, I had 80s glam. I was doing my thing. I had my hair out and I put like a classic rock song up and they were like, okay, you're good to go. And then everybody's like, you're going on MySpace? And I was just like, I finally got on.
So that had to have been like 2007 then.
I made an account on MySpace when I was in 7th grade, I think.
Wow.
Dude, I would make layouts. I would code layouts for
me too.
It looks like
for
you were
bands.
the CIA. Just the code that you have to copy and paste and like
for bands.
For bands. So like if you were like a band at my high school or like a local band in my town, they would like hit me up and I would make like banner GIFs and their layouts and run their MySpace page to make it look cool. And they would like pay me with like free weed. I don't know. They'd smoke me out or something.
That's so funny.
Smoke me out. Oh my God. I haven't heard that in so
like I was just like, yeah,
like,
they'd be like, yeah, come take pictures of us. We'll give you a few hits of the joint. No, we'd like go down to the woods and like take pictures of them.
So
is this the people you're like, I just want to see the weed?
Well, this is like I think when I was like high school and I was like a little used to weed, but I was I had no money to spend. I didn't like ever going and buying weed.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
And we know that you knew actually how to code a website. Me and Mariah, we just knew how to delete like if we wanted a different color, delete the brown and put red.
Right. That's all.
We just knew that we knew the fucking greater saying / word.
Right.
I wish my parents knew what I was doing in realizing that it was coding. Like, I didn't realize that it could be a career in a way. Granted, I wish my life didn't go down like computer and software engineering, but I wish it was recognized, and I didn't realize what I was doing could actually be like...
They had such a bright young child.
I know.
Crazy.
Getting smoked out.
Dude, I spent so much time coding when I was a kid, and then everybody transitioned to Facebook.
Yeah, that Facebook transition, then I was allowed to like have a Facebook.
I did not like that transition. I like MySpace was such like a... I didn't like that it was a popularity contest, but like you were on MySpace to be seen. Like, oh, hold on, were you? Fuck,
Speaking of scene,
was anyone in like the whole scene MySpace era?
I had an alternate. I wanted to be seen so bad.
So bad.
I had an alternate identity. I was still like Matt King, or I was like Matt at the disco or something. It was like my MySpace. I don't know.
I just remember going on like other people's MySpace and like seeing this like scene culture,
like their top 10.
Right, and I remember like just everybody being seen at the mall. Seen at the mall.
Oh yeah.
So I remember like seeing like I had like a scene friend who had like the crazy hair and dressed like it, and he was all a part of the MySpace thing, and he was like, I'd go over to his house and he'd show me everything and be like, this is this person, this is this person. And I'd kind of like run into them and I kind of got like associated with the scene crew. But I was like 80s glam. I wasn't like a scene kid, but they thought they took me in as one of their own.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I remember being just like so welcomed. Then I was like, I'm a scene kid, but I didn't have MySpace.
I'm a scene kid.
So there's this whole world on like MySpace where there's like the popular scenes of Florida, basically.
But it was the popular kids that like weren't technically popular in school.
Yeah.
Right. In your town, there was one famous boy or girl or both that everybody knew around the town, but in school they weren't like popular. They were just famous.
And you would see them hanging around the mall smoking cigarettes.
And that was me.
And what was crazy is like we didn't really have smartphones back then. It was this private like desktop experience that you had. Like now kids are in high school and they like go on their phones on Instagram. Everybody has a number by their name and they're exposed to it all the time. It was this very like separate
mysterious
elements thing that you were famous on. Like, you know,
and you didn't know too much about these scene kids too, because all you'd get is pictures and their layout on their page. There's no videos or not. They would never show anything like that. So when you would see any of these scene kids in person, you felt like you were seeing a celebrity. Like anytime I saw, like, I'm gonna name some people because I just think it's so interesting. Hillary Haywire, Drop Dead Jade,
Kiki Cannibal.
Huge. These were huge people that we thought were
So
celebrities,
weird.
but now thinking about like just looking back, you're like, wait a second, these were just kids on like but it's like,
But they were
it's like being
making
TikTok
money.
famous.
But they were doing like it's the equivalent to being like a
TikTok
an
star.
influencer, a
Yeah.
TikTok,
Right.
a Instagram person. Like it's so interesting, but it was just way before all of this.
Those were the first Instagram models.
They
Those
walked.
they
walked, so we could run.
It's so funny.
We wanted to be those emo boys so fucking bad. So we'd go to the mall every fucking weekend and try to find these kids. So I was a part of that life while Heath was a part of this scene kid's life. Like this specific scene kid who
This was
by the way, before you continue, this is like the king of scene
wait,
in
but
this
I
area.
didn't know him at the time.
Yeah.
So I had a friend named Caesar who was he went to the Marines. I feel like you've met him. He lived out here for a little while.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
he was a Marine and just this badass fucking buff dude. Like you look at him now, but back in high school, he was like a skinny little. He was the bassist in my band. And he had the emo scene spiked in the back, down like
It was
this.
almost like the "May I speak to the manager"
But, like,
haircut,
cool,
but like,
right,
on
right,
acid,
right,
yeah.
It was that.
So he had his scene friends, and I kind of like was hanging out with them, met them through that whole group, and they took me to the mall. I was welcomed. They brought me in like their own, and there was this kid at the time.
Yeah.
He was just a short kid, skinny, tiny little thing, but was like a Chihuahua pit bull.
Yeah.
That everybody feared, but he was just a little kid.
Oh, and I, like when I walked him and said hi, I felt like intimidated by this kid.
It's so interesting because he was tiny, but everybody feared him.
It was the Lord Farquaad of like the whole scene.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
Crazy though, but he was huge. I think it was like his popularity, and it was just like everybody like idolized this kid.
His name, MySpace name was Cries. We won't say his real name because we don't want people to reach out. His name was Cries. though.
Everybody feared him, but he walked around with a Hello Kitty backpack, Hello Kitty belt buckle, jeans that looked like they were like, you know those girls that get like the body paint, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Literally looked like that. And I remember
basically looked the least intimidating person, but like you just, because he was like the king
Right.
of MySpace, you were just
Right.
like, he felt
I remember
untouchable.
the first time I met him, I don't know what happened, but he didn't like me.
Oh no.
Hated me, and he walked up
I
to
wonder
me.
why.
He's glam rock.
I was glam. I wasn't seen. Sorry.
He was glam rock. He was scene pop. Hold on. What's the line?
He
of that
wasn't
song?
good enough for him.
Did I even say it like that far
He was
right?
a
I don't
skinny
I
know.
get where you're
boy.
going. But I remember I met the kid in person, and the first thing that happened is he walked up and he fucking pulled a knife on me at Sawgrass Mall.
Hold on you, or he was showing you his knife?
No, something was said, and he walked up, and like I guess he was just asserting.
You know,
dominance.
you're making fun of him.
I probably was like, I probably didn't get the hype, and I was like, who the you got a fucking Hello Kitty backpack on. What are you gonna do? And I remember like he pulled a knife on me.
With a Hello Kitty knife.
And I just remember just being like, what? I was like, you're not going to do anything. And do you remember Mopey?
Oh
this
my
is
God.
so weird. This is so weird, like bringing up
You
names.
have to explain what these two were like.
I know this is very descriptive for the people listening and watching right now, but so you have Cries. You have Cries, who's this tiny little thing, and then you have Mopey, who is this giant, massive, dreaded dude who was also in the scene community.
Like, you know that book of Mice and Men?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's exactly like that. So you have this little kid, and then you got this giant guy named Mopey. So Cries didn't know that I had ended up meeting Mopey a couple months before. This sounds
Okay.
insane. This is so weird that I'm remembering this.
It's like his best friend, but his security guard. Like, if something
Right.
happens to
Oh,
him, he
got
comes
it.
in like his security guard and
So, like,
basically
But he
yeah,
didn't
does
know
his
he
thing.
was cool.
Yeah.
Right. I ended up saying something to Cries.
Yeah.
And then he calls over Mopey. He's like, Mopey, come here.
That's what it was like.
And he calls this kid over to like come like back him up, like, yeah, watch me stab him or something. But I ended up knowing this kid, so I dapped up Mopey and I was like, what's up, dude? And then I looked at Cries and he's like, and I was
my
like, put the
gosh.
knife away. Like, you're not gonna fucking I'm friends with your boy that's to protect you. And like that's all that I remember of like being involved in like the scene
Oh
community.
my
It was so
goodness.
insane.
How many friends did he have?
A lot.
A lot. I mean, but everybody definitely talked about him behind his back, but everybody I feel like everything was very fake because he was such a shitty person.
Wait.
But he was the king of scene. So it was like everybody wanted to be just like attached to him.
Well, I meant MySpace friends.
Thousands.
Oh, thousands. He had a lot of fucking like friends on.
But like the thing about MySpace, like you could have thousands of people, but it's all thousand like of people in your community.
Right, in the town.
Yeah. There's so many people I tried finding on MySpace. You can't find them.
Kiki Cannibal was the ultimate.
She was
She was
the Paris
actually
Hilton.
She was actually internationally known.
Right.
Not so big, but like because she was best friends with who's that other scene girl? It was
that her now?
Kiki Cannibal, Rainbow Kitty.
I don't know
Remember
that one.
Rainbow Kitty?
I remember
Rainbow Kitty.
Yeah.
It's cringy looking back on it, but I
That was
loved
it.
it.
It was
Yeah,
in,
it was
yeah.
so expressive. Like you could really express yourself
I feel
in
like that was the e-boys of back then.
it's like a mix of that and rave people. Because they almost dressed like
Yeah.
rave people, but like halfway. They were halfway rave people. I want to bring up one more situation about Cries and Mopey. Do you remember the whole pieing phase where people would pie people at the mall? They would buy pies. They would fill it with cream. Like this was
like
no,
pie random
yeah,
people.
This wasn't.
What?
This wasn't seen as like a funny thing to do. This was just like fuck you. This was like.
You got pied.
You got pied, like fuck you. How embarrassing! You got fucking pied. So Cries would go around and pie people, and you don't
my
remember?
God.
I thought you were there for that the big night where like Cries got pied. You don't remember this? Where somebody came. Oh my god! It was Lindsay. It was my friend Lindsay. I almost forgot who it was, but Lindsay was just a very outgoing girl who was just like wouldn't take shit. So she was like, fuck that. I'm gonna pie pies. I'm like, and I remember I was so anxious. I was so anxious about. I'm like, oh my god, you're gonna pie Cries. We're gonna get our ass kicked by Mopey. But like. I remember us going to the store, buying the pies, and I remember being so fucking scared that
my
like
God.
Mopey's gonna beat my fucking ass because like I've
That's
seen
so
him.
funny.
And
It reminds me of That's So Raven, like the juicer. Remember that? guy?
right, it was
Juicer.
exactly like that. It's crazy.
That's so
So I
funny.
remember they even got it on camera, but I don't know if she still has it. But she fills up the pie, goes behind him, and pies him. And I remember we all fucking ran, and I remember like we were all just like fuck, like
That's
we're
so
gonna get hit after that night. Like we're on, like there's gonna be a target on our back for the rest of the year after we did. But like I just remember like that whole pieing thing was so crazy. It was like getting jumped. Like it was like
got
getting
pied.
you got fucking pied, loser. Like it was
That's
crazy.
so good. Yeah, nothing like sticking it to the man. You know what I mean?
Sticking it to the man.
Nothing like, you know what? There's nothing like going and pieing a kid named Cries.
I remember in that era, we'd go to a lot. I think it was actually like a couple years after it was like a rave scene, a rave phase. You guys remember that rave phase?